Morning, everybody. It's Tender Toe. I wanted to discuss my cook kit. I've got the Backcountry boiler, and I've got my eating vessel. This is my, my bowl, my mug, and things like that. I wanted to talk today about sort of what's contained in them, what they weigh, and just basically an overview of them. And also, I wanted to discuss some specific methods that I found to start a fire in the fire pan of the Backcountry boiler. Some tips and tricks that I've found over the past year. So let's take a look. This is the Backcountry boiler, sort of what I've done with it. It comes stock with a stuff sack, or the brand new ones, the second generation ones, come with the option to have a full neoprene case around them. This is one of the first generation ones, so it came with a stuff sack. I opted to switch it out to the same color stuff sack as my my bowl and mug, just so when I'm searching around for things, I see the same color, and I know that this is, if I'm hungry, I'm looking for this color of a stuff sack for my cook pot and my my bowl and mug and such. So let's throw this on the scale here. We've got 13 3/8 ounces for the Backcountry boiler. And for my bowl and such, we've got 5 7/8 ounces. Now, let's jump right in. We've got the Backcountry boiler here. When I open the top up, we've got two 2-ounce fuel bottles. I like this because it's relatively simple to measure out. Half of one of these is roughly an ounce, and I've got 4 ounces at the ready with the actual Backcountry boiler, so that allows me to get 4 full burns with the alcohol kit version of this. And then I obviously have my larger fuel bottle, in my pack or something like that may not necessarily be near my cook kit, that obviously I can refill, depending on the length of the trip. I may bring this, with a quarter full of fuel, just to refill these, these two ounces. The reason why I break it up like this is because this can also go in my my base layer, a pocket, whether it's in my, my pants or in my top. Keep it close to my body and keep it warm in cold weather, so that the alcohol can, catch fire real quickly. So that's the fuel portion. Once again, this is a wood burning stove, obviously, but it has the capability to also be burned in alcohol mode. So this is the fire pan with the fire felt. This is sold separately. It's a couple bucks. I picked it up recently. The first generation was not sold with these. I used an alcohol, just a regular alcohol stove, a penny stove, for the longest time. And then Devon at Boiler Works started selling these fire felts, just a piece of carbon felt. You fill this with alcohol, and you can use this as an alcohol burner. It works extremely well when you don't want to, go through the effort of starting a wood fire. It's nice in the morning for breakfast from the hammock. You just fill it up with alcohol. No need to gather up any firewood or try and get a wood fire going or anything like that. So very useful. So that's the fire pan there. It has sort of an input air intake hole here, because when this thing all seals up, obviously this has got to get some oxygen to the flame there. And this is the actual Backcountry boiler here. Once again, this is the first generation. It's got a neoprene sleeve around it. So this is what it looks like bare. And then it's got a nice neoprene sleeve that sort of slips over it and prevents you from getting burned when you pick this thing up. Those of you that are familiar with a Kelly kettle, it's the same principle. You have sort of an internal chimney, and then you have, this is where the liquid actually goes inside of this sort of outside wall here, and the flames shoot up through the inside and heat the inside of your of this vessel here, and you get a nice good boil going in there. So that's the Backcountry boiler version right there, and this is sort of my my bag of tricks that helps me get a fire going. I found that over the past year, that I've been playing around with this. There are some tips and tricks that sort of help to get a fire going in here. The problem that I found is that this is such a small fire pan. That's obviously a good thing. It's compact. It's easy to carry. It obviously cuts down on weight. But when you're talking about starting a fire that is this small, you need some you need some help sometimes, because it's it can be a little difficult getting a small fire going compared to a larger fire going. Just imagine getting a fire going in your fire pit. Obviously you have, you can just keep throwing fuel on, you obviously get your tinder going, and then, it's a bit of a different procedure with this, because you're sort of limited by what sort of sticks and twigs can make it through the top vent of this, because once you get a fire going in here, you feed the the fuel in the top, so you're sort of limited in size by that, the dimension of that hole there. So some tips and tricks that I'll get into a little later revolve around my, this is sort of my tinder bag, if you will. I've got this is a piece of a candle, so it's going to be candle wax. This is jute twine. You can pick this up at any hardware store, Lowe's, Home Depot, things like that. I'll get into how I use both of those items in just a minute. This is a fuel cap. An additional fuel cap for my larger fuel bottle. So I bring this to carry. This is obviously just sort of a fifth of liquor bottle. That's why I've obviously put poison all over it, so that nobody gets the wrong idea. But it travels with a solid top. But then when I obviously want to refill my my alcohol bottles here, I have an additional bottle cap with a hole in the top, so I screw that on, and that can, obviously act as a, making a fuel stream, if you will, to refill these smaller bottles. And I have a mini Bic. So I'm going to get into sort of a little later on how this actually plays into helping me get a fire started in the fire pan there. Let's talk about the this is my eating vessel, if you will, the bowl and the mug. Inside of here I've got just your run-of-the-mill spork. It's a GSI spork, I think. I may invest in a different one at some point. This actually had sort of a carabiner piece on it that you could clip onto things. I didn't find that very useful. It obviously broke off. I've had this is probably one of my first backpacking items that I bought. I may eventually, upgrade to something, maybe a little longer, or maybe something that doesn't have, obviously, this broken portion on it. But this works fine for, it's done me well for a couple of years now. I have, this is sort of my mug and my bowl. This top portion here, this is a Ziploc, not exactly sure the name, but the size is small. It's just a Ziploc bowl, and what it comes, obviously this is 8 ounces. This is an 8-ounce sort of mug. It comes with a top to it. I've actually cut off, there was a little lip here that was supposed to make it a bit easier for you to sort of peel the top off. I cut that off so that it's obviously streamlined. It didn't stick out. I also cut a hole here for the liquid to come out, and also punched a small hole up here to allow for it to flow out a little easier. So that's my mug. This is Reflectix. You can also use, I've made a couple of these. This is also one of the first items that I made. This is duct tape. I would, if I made this again, I'd use the actual silver duct tape. But this has worked out just fine for me. You can also use, I've made a couple of these out of mailing envelopes. They sell them just at the grocery store up where I'm at. You can do the same thing. It's basically just to insulate your mug there. And that's my tea mug, or some folks may use coffee in there. I'm a tea drinker myself. This is a candle lantern that I made. This is just a spice container. I believe this was actually sprinkles came in this. But it's a little lighter than I had one of the glass versions. And this is a bit lighter. What I did was I took, that's wax paper. I took wax paper and lined the inside of this. to sort of diffuse the light, and that is a electronic tea light at the bottom. These come in packs of 12. You can get them at your local, home store, your Walmart, your Target, your Kmart, and that sort of flickers like that. It's a little lighter weight than my the glass one that I had with actual burning tea lights. Provides the same style of light, in my opinion, and it's just something that keeps you entertained while you're out in the woods. I think the way this actually goes back in here. Just provides the same kind of a, just a little extra light when you're out in the woods there. And once again, it's a little lighter than my glass version that I had. Take a look at exactly how much that weighs, actually. 1.5 ounces. Compared to the glass version, I believe, and I actually have it sitting here. The glass version is a bit heavier. Glass version that I have, and this is what I'm referring to, it's actually glass and metal, and it has a tea light actually in it, a physical, burning tea light. The weight on that is 3 3/4 ounces, or 3 5/8. So, just a little lighter to have this plastic version. It's done me well. Once again, you have to obviously replace these every so often, but I think you get a pack of 12 for $3 of the electronic tea lights. And it's worked pretty well for me. Next items I have in here, obviously a mini Bic inside of my bowl. I have 2 small containers. These are actually made for beads. You can pick these up at a local craft store. It's just a screw top. And I've got salt and pepper. And this lasts me, 10, 15 times out in the woods. It's just nice to have a little bit of extra spice in case you need something. So I have that, and I have an extra mini Bic in my actual my bowl set. Once again, just in case something happens to the one I have in here. I also have one that I always keep in my upper pocket when it starts to get cold outside. Basically, it goes next to my fuel bottles in my my base layer, zipped right next to my body. Excuse me, to keep the to keep the Bic warm so that it'll perform as well. So that's basically an overview. I did want to do the base weight of just the Backcountry boiler itself. I'll do the Backcountry boiler with no neoprene sleeve. That would be for folks, I know that they sell them this way now, folks that want to just use the bandana or something that they're already carrying. So the weight with just the Backcountry boiler itself, 8 3/4 ounces. With the neoprene sleeve, 9.5 ounces total. So once again, this is the first generation. I believe he's shaved a bit of weight off of the newer generation ones. But that's sort of in a nutshell the weights and what goes into the cook kit itself. I'm going to go sort of break away here for a moment and come back and talk about how to actually make a decent fire using jute twine and this wax. This has worked better for me than Vaseline soaked cotton balls, than fat wood. This is really just, in the past year, I've really tried to experiment because, once again, like I mentioned, very small fire pan to actually be creating a fire in. So just needs a little bit of extra care, in my opinion. So we'll talk about that when we come back here.